Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast for our impromptu mid-season IPL review. The lads, and we are the lads, are back from Lisbon. Nice piece of alliteration there. We're back in London via Luton. And we're going to be talking about all the IPL action that's taken. Well, we're not actually going to be talking about all the IPL action. What we're going to do, mix things up a little bit because we were on holiday. We're going to do some team reviews. We're going to have a look back at our pre-season previews, pre-season predictions, and see how things panned out for some of the boys. Who's impressed us? Who's disappointed us? I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. Fully kitted out. He's gone full kit.
Full kit wanker.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to drop
No, I've not got the cricket socks on. That's yes.
And we've got Max rowe-brown, who's dropped the W bomb.
Yep,
Straight
nice
away
and
on
early.
this pod. Yeah, how you doing,
why
Max?
not? Good, yeah. Thank you for the alliterative intro. It was very nice.
Sometimes inspiration just comes to you, doesn't it? That was one of those moments. So feel blessed. Feel blessed to be in my presence, boys. Let's get one of our ads in early, Ross. Serious cricket. It is the 1st of May, which is really, I think, the traditional, May, the traditional beginning of the cricket season, the month where the cricket season begins in this country, particularly for us in the amateur game. And we can help you address your kit needs, can't we?
We can indeed. And Serious Cricket are offering 10% off to our dear TCP listeners using code TCP23. So if you use that code on their website, Serious Cricket, you can get all equipment and 10% off all of that equipment. So get yourself some new pads, get yourself some new spikes. If you're going in and opening your kit for the first time this season and you literally decide, why am I doing this to myself
It's all disintegrated in front of your eyes.
Yeah, you're sitting there going, oh my God, when you pick up those batting gloves that didn't get dried out at the end of the season and they look like, I don't know, like a 90-year-old's neck skin. Why don't you get yourself some new batting gloves?
My batting gloves a couple of years ago, I opened my kit bag after the winter break, and there was just no palm to them anymore.
They're the bacterias now.
Yeah.
That's good. Extra grip on the handle.
It was like
still got finger protection.
I had to go. I couldn't get gloves straight away, so I had to go to nets, and the bat was just in the palm of my hand with like some tatty bits of leather holding the rest of it all together. If you go to like Lords, you can go to the Cricket Museum, see a pair of WG Grace's gloves. That's basically what I had. Should say as well, if you're watching on YouTube, say hello. We've missed you. Sorry about Friday. What were we doing on Friday? We were having a nice meal, weren't we? Some octopus.
Oh, it was nice.
It was good.
It was nice.
So, how you doing? Do click like, do click subscribe as well, and let us know your thoughts as we go through, because we're interested to hear. Let's kick off then. Who did we predict to finish bottom when we started, Max?
We predicted that the team to finish bottom would be the Kolkata Knight Riders, for various reasons. Partly because they're all old, and partly because we thought the plan was to do nothing and then hope Dre Russ did everything for them. In reality, they're 8th with a record of 3 wins and 6 defeats, so not far off. It's bottom 2 years ago. It's not quite bottom now, but it's not good. It's very much on brand. And if it wasn't for Royal Challengers Bangalore existing as a franchise, they would be rock bottom. So
no, you don't mean Royal Challengers Bangalore? They're not rock bottom.
No, if it wasn't for them,
okay.
They would be rock bottom because they've beaten them twice.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Okay, circumstances.
Yeah. No, that was good clarification. Yeah.
Yes. So it's not all bad, has it? It's not all bad. Obviously not all good, but it's not all bad. I mean, there have been some high points, haven't there? The one that sticks to mind is Rinku Singh, obviously, in that game against Gujarat Titans. And I think that kind of sums up what they've been like this season. I don't know how you felt about KKR so far. Is it sort of basically exactly what you thought?
It's much better than I thought, to be honest, in terms of entertainment value. The cricket, the way to win cricket, they're not it. But in terms of like must-watch TV, they're pretty good. They're like a Jason Statham movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes we use movie analogies. Jason Statham. I've got a soft spot for Jason Statham movies. He runs around, he fights people. Not really much of a plot. Then he fights some more people, and then there's usually an explosion. And that's kind of what KKR are like. Like, is there a single good Jason Statham film? Snatch, maybe, at a push. but there's some entertainment value there, and I have to respect them for putting on a good show.
You mean the remake of The Italian Job wasn't in your top 3 movies?
Exactly. Ross, what do you make of the Kolkata Knight Riders? Am I alone in saying that they're the most entertaining team in the IPL?
I do quite like them, purely the fact that you genuinely have no idea what's going to happen, and I do like that they lean in to that. They've also got Sunil Narine, who he almost has like this disdain for anything other than bowling, which I really like. And then on some occasions, it just feels like, yeah, shall I go out and bat now just so I can get it out of the way and put the feet up? Which I quite like about it. There's like real elite level behaviour. And I also like that they've found a spinner who it doesn't look like he really understands where he is, but he just turns up and does a reasonably okay job. He's not been brilliant.
So yeah, sure.
Yeah,
he's done quite a lot better than reasonably okay. Like having come from, out of the woodwork really, and then rubbing shoulders with Narine and Chakravarti. He's been pretty good. He's got some big wickets. He's bowled quite nicely. I think I think reasonably okay is a little harsh, especially when you consider what's going on around him for KKR. But yeah, I mean, they've just been relying on nonsense, haven't they? Whether it's Rinku Singh hitting 5 sixes in a row, whether it's Shardul Thakur absolutely smoking the ball all over the place when the entire top order is out for a duck. It's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah, slightly more seriously.
Getting Jason Roy in has actually worked somehow.
He has done okay. I mean, slightly more seriously, if you look at like the underlying metrics, they basically don't do anything right when they bowl, and that is a problem. They don't take wickets regularly in any phase. Their economy rate isn't very good in any phase. Batting wise, they've had their moments. Like they're not great in the power play, but later through the innings, not too bad. But I don't know. Like if you break that down, then you kind of got 6 phases. You've got the batting, power play, middle overs, and death, and the same for the bowling. I would say they're probably good in maybe 1 or 2 of those phases with the bat, and then bad in the 4 others, which isn't a good situation to be in. Yeah. They're about where I thought. Should we rate them out of 10 and then move on to somebody else?
Sure.
Right. Versus our expectations, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. Well, versus expectations, then we got to be looking at like 6 or 7.
Okay. Yeah. So you think they're playing to about their level?
No, all above it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'd probably say 5. I think this is pretty much exactly what I expected. I'm not surprised at all by what we've seen so far. Ross,
I've been blinded by the excitement factor.
Okay.
Got to give him an extra point for that.
I've been pretty let down by Shardul Thakur's presence, really. Unfortunately, after his huge trade move. I reckon 5 out of 10 for KKR. I think their fans be sitting there going, do you know what? We're enjoying following the team this year. It's not like being a Spurs fan.
Yeah, like I mean, if you're not going to make the playoffs, you might as well be fun. Should we do the next team? I think that's me for next. That is Mumbai Indians. So obviously we predicted that they would finish second bottom. That isn't what's happened though. They've actually won a few matches. Now I think they've been helped here and there with some scheduling, and they probably are. To be fair to Mumbai Indians, a little bit better than I thought. Their record, they've played 8 games, they've won 4, lost 4, they have a minus 0.5 net run rate, which is kind of hilarious. And overall being pretty exciting. Highlights, well, it's very difficult to say that yesterday's game wasn't the highlight of the season. Like basically they've beaten 1 good team and 3 kind of bad teams to get this record. Yesterday, I mean, if you're not aware of what we're alluding to, or I'm alluding to, Tim David hit 3 sixes off Jason Holder in the last over to finish the game. It was pretty impressive. Probably, the IPL's been mental. It might not even be one of the best 5 finishes to an IPL game this year. Like we've had like the Miss Mankad, Rinku Singh, all sorts, but it was a good one, and I think that's the highlight.
Might be the worst 3 deliveries to finish an IPL game this year.
low light is kind of all of the bowling. Is that fair enough, Max? I'm going to throw that over to you because Ross has managed to drop his camera.
Not quite. It's not quite fair enough because Piyush Chawla has actually been surprisingly good. We said before they started that they didn't have a spinner apart from Piyush Chawla, so they were in trouble. But he's done a decent job. He's taken wickets. He's not been particularly expensive, and he's even taken a couple of catches. Belying his stature, he's been really handy for them. The pace is something else, isn't it? I mean, Jofra Archer's come in and played a few games, but he's still working on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been pretty much what we expected on that front. Not that penetrating, all a bit samey, but the batting is where they excel, and it's what we thought they would need to win games, and it has been how they've won games. If they've whoever it's been, whether it's Tilak Varma, Sky's come back into some form, or Tim David yesterday, they've got something. They've got something to work with, which is why I think they've managed to get these runs. But I mean, it's a fair point what you make about who they've beaten so far. The back end will be interesting.
Ross, Mumbai Indians, are you expect? I mean, I think we've written off KKR basically, haven't we? Someone in the chat has pointed out they've hit the most sixes. I think in our crib notes, what we would talk about, we would say, what do they need to do to make the playoffs? And I think we're kind of saying KKR can't. Mumbai though, 4-4 record with 6 to play. You are in the hunt, aren't you?
You definitely are, and I think the batting lineup is a real asset for them. Jofra Archer's now coming back into the side. He's played the last 2 games, I think, or 2 of the last 3. Yes, he's managing an elbow injury, but that's such an important part of it. They literally didn't have the bowling, and people were going, Jason Behrendorff's the answer, and you're kind of sitting there, you need a little bit more than Jason Behrendorff. And I think having Jofra in the side gives them that space. And I think if they can have 12 to 14 solid overs that they can kind of rely on in that space to a greater or lesser extent, their batting can make up for the rest of it. It might not be good enough to get them to the playoffs, because I think some of the other teams have got 16, 17 overs that they can typically bank on. But they're in no way completely out of this tournament. And when you've got Sky, Tim David and those guys, and Tilak Varma's doing okay as well.
Yeah, ratings out of 10 for Mumbai. Do you want to go first, Ross?
I'm going to go. I'm pleasantly surprised, actually.
Yeah.
Piyush Chawla has done better than I thought he was going to do. Rohit Sharma has done better than I thought he was going to do. Cameron Green has not been flop of the season, has he, Max?
No, shame.
So yeah, I reckon for what they're working with, 7 out of 10.
Max?
Solid 6 from me.
Yeah, I'll probably agree with Ross on this one. I think a 7. I thought they could be right down the bottom, and then the way their season started, I thought they're genuinely awful, this team.
Yeah, I thought they adapted well. I thought it showed that actually, do you know what? We can't play in the way that we thought we were going to play at the start of this season.
Yeah,
and they adapted really quite well and found ways to win, and that's what it's all about.
Weirdly, I also think they're kind of lucky to be 4-4 though. So 7 out of 10, but like a lucky 7. A lucky 7.
A lucky 7.
Hey, make your own luck in life, lads. Make your own luck in life.
Ross, who do we have in 7th place or 8th place when we did the preview?
I can't remember, mate. If I'm perfectly honest.
Was it Punjab Kings?
I think it might have been Punjab Kings.
Okay, do you want to tell us about Punjab Kings?
Yes. So in our predictions, we said that if they can get their tactics right, and if they can keep their players fit enough, then they have an outside chance of reaching the playoffs. But it's going to be a tough ask. Fair to say that prediction's pretty spot on. They've struggled with injuries. They've had mixed successes with their tactics, and they've played 9, won 5, lost 4, sitting in 5th place on 10 points, but with the worst net run rate out of the other teams on 10 points. So actually, a pretty good start for the Kings of Comedy, I'd say. Like, they are well and truly in the mixer. Best performances, Darwan's done pretty well with the bat, but he's been out injured a little bit. Dan Weston's snake dream of Simran Singh has kind of paid off a little bit. He's been pretty good up front. Bit of feast or famine, but he's been pretty good. And then Jitish Sharma's really started to come into his own, I think, in that kind of finisher role, and has hit is he at their most 6s? I think he has. But he's striking at 190, which is something to be pretty happy with. And Arshdeep Singh has 15 wickets going at less than 9 and over, and he I think is probably my favourite shout for purple cap now moving forward. He's a big game player, and he's literally the spearhead of their lineup. Gents, what do you think about Sam Curran so far this year? He's bowling in quite difficult phases. He's batting relatively well. What do you think's happening with the most expensive player playing for the biggest cheapskates going in cricket?
I would say that he is having a positive season in terms of runs contributed over the average player. Probably been better with the bat than the ball, but he hasn't necessarily been bad with the ball. He's had a couple of decent moments. I don't know if he hasn't really put together a great season with the ball, but he bowled that like difficult last over, didn't he, with the wet ball and stuff like that, which helped them seal a win. So I would say he's doing quite well. I mean, like obviously there's a mini auction dynamic with Curran. Like he probably in a mega auction isn't anywhere near the most expensive player. I think he'd sell for a lot, but I don't think he'd be the most expensive player. So it looks like he costs them quite a lot per run he saves them or per run he gains them with the bat. But you throw in that mini auction dynamic, and it's probably not the world's worst pickup. There are probably it's probably somewhere near the middle of the table in terms of value per run. Decent, in other words. Captained a couple of games as well, hasn't he? And did okay doing that.
I think he's been basically asked to do a role of a really senior player in this side, which I think tells you a lot about what they think about him. He's third in their run list.
Is he third?
Yeah.
Wow, that's not too bad.
By 2. So he's doing pretty well with the bat. He's batted in a few different situations. He's like you say, he's been asked to bowl in some pretty clutch situations as well. And it's it's been an expensive year for bowlers all round, really.
Does anyone have his economy rate up?
It's about 9.5.
That's not actually that bad. I thought it would be 10.
For someone bowling some of those challenging overs, I think he's doing pretty well.
It's basically the same as Nathan Ellis, very, very slightly worse than Nathan Ellis. So, I mean, Arshdeep's been going at 8.9, so the difference isn't huge. So I think he's done pretty well. It's not,
he's 24 years old.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying about the experienced player like role that he's been given for a guy who's 24 and still only got a few IPLs under his belt. I think he's done pretty well given all the pressure. It's not been bad.
I think that they generally do have a problem with bowling though. They have basically no penetrative threat in the power play, and then even less in the middle overs. Now you can say with Arshdeep and Rabada or Curran or Ellis, eventually they should start taking power play wickets, but in the middle overs, they have been a bit toothless, and I'm not sure I'd expect them to improve there. So that's a little bit of a weakness, and probably that's the difference between them being seriously in the hunt and them sort of clinging on by the coattails, if you like, of the pack in front.
Yeah, I think they've lacked a little bit of consistency across the team. I think their selection has been a bit all over the place as well. They haven't quite settled on who their best 4 overseas players were. I think we said at the start that actually if Johnny Bairstow was going to miss out, actually it makes it a little bit easier for them to actually fit some better bowling in and have a stronger bowling lineup. But they don't seem to like to play Rabada and Nathan Ellis together in the lineup. Livingston coming back into the side. He's played 2 or 3 games now, getting his fitness back up. Did reasonably well at the weekend.
Yesterday was a big player. Yeah.
And you kind of see there that maybe him coming back into form and back from injury will give them the flexibility to do that. I think Raz has actually done reasonably well in the games. I think he's probably won them 2 games from a batting perspective. Good yesterday as well. But someone like Matt Short, for example, I'm not quite sure he's in their best 4 players and should be starting in this lineup. I think their domestic batting talent is looking a little bit better. Like Taidi looks okay as well. Jishi Sharma looks okay, as I said. Simran Singh, Darwan. So I think they can start to take a bit more of a risk, especially if Darwan is going to actually be playing and fit them in. So I don't think it's all bad for them. 10 points is great to be at this point in time. Their net run rate is a bit naff, but I think they are definitely in the hunt.
Out of 10 based on pre-season expectations?
This is exactly what I thought was going to happen with.
Oh, really?
If I'm perfect.
What's that mean out of 10?
I I reckon they're performing at sixes. I reckon
Okay.
they had that. They should have had that opportunity to really do very well. I think they've lost a couple of games that they should have won. But at the same time, they've won a couple of games that they shouldn't have won. And beating CSK on the last ball with a 3 yesterday actually that's a really good win for them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that they've also lent in a little bit to being the intent merchants that Dan wanted them to be, say, a year ago. And there was, I think, who was the game that they played? It was against Mumbai when I think like none of their team hit more than 40 runs, but they were all hitting at like 175, and you're just like that is kind of a nice blueprint for them, and yeah, they're an exciting team.
Out of 10, Max?
Yeah, 6 seems fair. I think they've done pretty well, but not amazing.
I'm gonna go 8.
8.
Yeah, I didn't think this was a very good team. And
No?
I think they're doing very well to be in the position they're in. I think it will be tough for them to win the number of games that they need to win. But they have put themselves in a position.
With one more round of fixtures, they could very easily drop down to 7th.
Yeah, well, that's probably more like where I'd expect them to be. If they were 7th, I'd probably give them a 6. But they're not. They're actually, if they win their next game, they're a pretty strong favourite to make the playoffs. So good for them, what I'd say. Well done. And they're probably one of the teams that are getting better because Livingston is back and as you said, Ross, finding some fitness. Next team on the list, Max. Let's actually have a quick look at the time. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break and then we're going to come back with the next team on the list. So yeah. All right, break. That was smooth.
Back in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Cricket Podcast for our mid-season IPL catch up. We're going through all 10 teams, rating them out of 10, giving our thoughts on how their season has gone so far. We've done 3, we have 7 to go. We're enjoying people in the chat. He's upset with Sangakkara and Rajasthan Royals. We'll be getting to them later. Few people, they like Punjab, like how exciting they are, and I think that's a fair comment. And now we're going to move on to the next team. Max, before the season, all the way down in 7th place. And I remembered, actually, it wasn't necessarily us that predicted this. So before we get any hate, this was our Patreon's vote. 7th place, Max, I believe that was Chennai Super Kings.
It was the big boys, Chennai Super King. Predicted down in 7th. Currently, they are in 4th place on net run rate in amongst 4 teams who are on 10 points. And they have a 5-4 record. It was interesting because we thought one of the big issues would be lack of death bowling, and we weren't sure about the firepower with the bat, but that they might be relying on home wins and chapawking people. They've only won 2 at home, although they did chapawk a couple of teams in that time. But they also got chapawked themselves by Rajasthan Royals. So their away record's actually been pretty good. And they've been scoring piles of runs. They've been smoking the ball all over the place. Gaikwad has started hitting 6s. The Doob has done some stuff. But obviously...
21 6s the Doob has got. 21.
Long levers, mate. Long levers. Obviously, though, I mean, the big news from them is that Rahane is now the world's best T20 cricketer. It's it's not something we predicted. I think it would have been quite something if we'd gone and said, yeah, that Rahane pickup is going to prove to be the biggest bargain of that IPL auction. It was it's been amazing. I can't even Dhoni's come in and just facing 3 balls and hitting 2 6s, and he's done it at least 3 times. It's been incredible with the bat and completely far away from what we've expected. I didn't even mention Devon Conway, and he's hit 6 consecutive 50s. It's
414 runs so far, Conway.
It's madness. So for them, yeah, them being in 4th is quite the turn up, and it's been going in a completely different direction to how we predicted. How impressed have you been with CSK, Jack?
Extremely in certain parts of the game. Like as mentioned, both Conway and Gaikwad have made them, I think, comfortably the best team in the power play. Certainly in terms of average, I think they've lost like 1 wicket in the tournament or something insane like that. So that's obviously going well. With the ball, I still think there are some question marks, and it's almost the opposite. The power play bowling for Chennai Super Kings has been a disaster. Like, I think the worst in the tournament. So you've got that dynamic going on. Are they better than I thought? Yes, is the short answer to the question.
Yeah.
I think overall they're the two extremes, but in general they've been a pretty decent side, I think, so far.
I think we expected the bowling to be bad. We expected the batting to be okay. The batting's been off the chain, and the bowling's been bad. Still.
Yeah, I mean, but later in the innings it's
that,
okay. But it's the power play bowling specifically that's there's a car
which
crash.
is what we thought would be their trump card with the ball, I suppose, with Deepak Chahar, who's obviously not playing at the moment, which has given some opportunities to some other players. I think the CSK bowling lineup has become a bit of a who's who of who are you of late. But we can't dance around, Ross, the fact that they currently have the purple cap holder.
Yeah, Tushar Deshpande. He was on zero people's prediction list in terms of being in this position. He is very expensive. It's fair to say he is buying those wickets. He's going over 11 and over. But all right, I suppose if they're winning games. But it's not really a sustainable option, I don't think.
It's maybe all right if you've got some other pacers to make up for it, but Akash Singh isn't exactly cheap either.
He's probably on the cusp, and I know they can't really replace him, but that economy rate
of being selected in the T20 India team. Based on his IPL
I think there's a serious chance. There's more chance of that happening than what I was about to say, which is that I don't know if you can actually sustainably have a guy who goes at 11.5 and over, even if they are the purple cap holder. A bunch of these wickets are like death over slog wickets.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the same problem for the other cap, orange cap.
Yeah.
Going
at strike rate.
Scoring a bazillion runs at 120. Like is that actually useful? In a way, it is. Runs are the currency of the game. Wickets are important if you're bowling, but the other metric is so bad. And in a T20, that's actually sort of really the important one.
And that's why today has been useful for them, right? So he's gone at 7.5, picked up 13 wickets, and he's such an important part.
Well, clearly a far better bowler, in terms of value added. It's not. It's a great example of what I mean. Yeah. Like it's like who has bowled better, the guy who has done the main job, i.e., don't let the other team score as many runs as they want, or the guy who has sort of fluked some outfield catches. I'm afraid.
Yeah. I have liked Lasith Malinga 2.0. I think he's been quite. He's good to watch, and he's in some cases has completely flummoxed people. In other cases, he's been Glenn Maxwell. So I quite like what they've got there. And Max, we're not surprised that Stokes hasn't really played, are we? Really, we kind of said.
No, he's got one knee.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's worked for them. Maybe not with the ball in the power play, but with the bat, it's definitely helped because the intent that they've got is surprising, and Rahane striking at 190. It's all happening. Playoffs.
I've got one slight problem.
Okay.
Ambati Rayudu. He's got the easiest gig in the IPL at the moment, and he's literally striking at 136. He's not really offering anything, but is continuously the impact sub. He's got. He's on the coast. Out of all the impact subs that we've got across the IPL, and Ambati Rayudu is having the greatest tournament for a lazy player.
The name impact sub's a bit of a misnomer, isn't it? Because it's not about an impact; it's about getting rid of the person who's the worst in the field. So you got Amit Mishra bowling 4 overs on the bounce, and then off you go straight away. I mean, at least Rayudu is asked to field sometimes, but it's a fair point. They haven't needed him. But I was going to say playoff wise, their chances. I mean, they're currently 4th. They're in a good spot, but they're running. They've got Delhi twice, Mumbai, and KKR. So I mean, they're solid. They are looking solid for that top 4.
I'd have had them at a 9, I think, if we'd done this show before, the weekend, or last time we talked on Wednesday. Now I'd have them down at a 7. And that shows sort of the importance of things like their last ball loss. Doesn't it? Even if they'd won that, I'd probably have them at an 8 or a 9.
I've still got them at 8, I think.
Yeah. Ross?
Yeah, no, I think they've been really, really good. I did go into this tournament out of all this being the biggest CSK fan. I felt I think they literally. I was very strong on the narrative, and the narrative of Ben Stokes and Dhoni might be a little bit misplaced, and it's been down to the brilliance of Gaikwad and Conway. But I'm not surprised to see them in this position. Chahar, obviously losing him as a bowler has been big impact. Is it Max? Is there any chance of him coming back, or is Dr. Ganguly ruled him out of the tournament?
Out.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Right, next team on the list. That is one of mine, but I've forgotten who, so give me 1 second. It's Royal Challengers Bangalore. So we had them in 5th place, I think. Is that right? 6th place? 6th place. Right, well, we better speed this up then. As it has turned out, they are in 6th place. 4 wins, 4 losses, a minus 0.139 net run rate, which is actually not too bad for RCB in recent seasons.
So we were 100% right. Let's move on to the next team.
They have 8 points. The story of their season is that they are amazing in the power play with the bat and amazing in the power play with the ball. And then they tail off in both. So, they're very much a roller coaster in both, or downhill roller coaster. Like one of those ones that shoots you off and then you come back down like that way. Yeah. Siraj, probably their player of the tournament. Faf du Plessis nipping at his heels, maybe. If I was gonna, Siraj, he had the purple cap for a little bit. I think he's been the best seam bowler in the tournament, I would say. It is a shame for Siraj that basically gets no support from anyone. Arshal Patel has forgotten how to bounce the ball. Like, he just bowls, he just airmails everything. That's kind of weird. Hasaranga came back with a lot of hope and delivered a little bit, maybe steadied the ship to some extent, but not hugely changed that narrative. And there's nothing they can really do about the batting. I'm not sure. We're still kind of waiting on Patidar and whether he can come back and whether that might change things. Which it would extend their batting order, but fundamentally they do have a problem there. In 6th, game in hand on the teams above them, so they can move onto that 10-point rung on the ladder.
The buttercream.
Yeah. And they might have a chance. Tricky thing for them, I suppose, for the rest of the season. They've got 6 away matches, or maybe not a tricky thing if you're in the Chinnaswami's no good camp. So that's the summary. What's your highlight of the season for RCB been, Max?
Well, I mean, in terms of player, you can't look past Siraj, can you? I mean, as a bowler, he's been, not only has he taken wickets, he's going at 7.5, is it? Economy rate, which is incredible when you've been playing so many games at the Chinnaswami. That is just genuinely impressive. So I can't look past that. It's been fantastic. As much as their batting's been pretty exciting for the first half of their innings, but that's got to be it for me.
Yeah. Ben Maxwell's been insane as well, by the way. The Big Show has well and truly done a pretty
he hasn't flopped either, has he, Jack?
No, he hasn't flopped.
He's striking at 186. He's won them a couple of games pretty much with his contribution. But yeah, they've not found the replacement for, say, Josh Hazlewood very well in this lineup. And he did offer an awful lot for them beforehand. But,
famously, an easy thing to do, replace one of the best bowlers in the world.
So apparently, he's been bowling and he's coming back. So
I've been here. This must be the 50th time I've heard someone say this. Yeah. What's a low light, Ross? And then we'll rate them out of 10. Quite a few to choose from.
Yeah, I think that their finishing has been the real problem, right? And last year we had perhaps the Indian summer of Dinesh Karthik's career, and he's offered absolutely nothing this season. He is one of the nicest blokes in cricket, but unfortunately he has not been particularly good. And then bowling wise, where I think they've probably struggled the most, their supporting cast hasn't been great, but Arshal Patel has a very senior role in this lineup, and really I don't think he has delivered what he could have delivered. And it puts a lot of pressure on some of the other domestic bowlers in the side, like Bishak.
Right, I'm going to be generous. I'm going to say 6 out of 10 because they've got a game in hand. Anyone Yeah, you have to give your ratings.
I think that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'd go with that.
Ross.
Yeah, I'll go for that's fine.
Cool. Right, next team on the list, Ross, is one of yours. Do you remember off the top of your head?
Gujarat Titans.
It is Gujarat Titans. Yeah, we had them in 5th, just outside the playoffs. Our patrons had them in 5th, just outside the playoffs.
Yeah,
Going okay.
We said in the prediction, I think they will need more consistency from players. Last year it was a bonanza of clutch performances, and that isn't sustainable. However, there's something I like about this team, and they are definitely playoff contenders. Fair to say there's been more clutch performances and not a load of consistency. But they are top of the pops. Played 8, won 6, 2 losses, 12 points. They've been interesting again to follow. I think they're quite an exciting team as the IPL kind of goes into their second season. Obviously reigning champs. Shubgoat has hit a boatload of runs, but Vijay Shankar is hitting at 165 and has the most sixes in their team. Who the hell could predict that?
He's outdoing David Miller. He's outdoing Killer Miller.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
In one game fewer as well.
I think they're clearly the best team in the tournament on like all metrics, all decent metrics. Like, or like when you look at them in the round, by miles, the best bowling team.
They are more than the sum of their parts. They are really, really good.
The parts are pretty good.
The parts are pretty good, but there is that piece of just like they've. Rashid Khan, for example, he is back to his best. He struggled in South Africa 20, and then he's bought what I'm guessing it's what he's done is like the coaching and mentorship he's provided to Noor Ahmed. And Noor Ahmed's come into the side and shone as well. Shami has been good with the leather up front, and yeah, the supporting cast has not been too bad either.
Hardik Pandya, he's been decent. I mean, like they're killing it.
I've got Hardik Pandya down as my letdown of the letdown of Gujarat team, which goes to show how strong this lineup actually is.
No, I think is that with the ball or do you mean with the bat? I think you say it with the bat. But
with the bat. I mean, in his position, I think with the ball, he's only taken 2 wickets.
Yeah, he's going at 7.5 though.
Yeah, that is good.
He's their 5th best bowler. That's incredible.
As a bowler, your job is to, as we just talked about with CSK, there has to be a balance of taking wickets and being economical. He's done one part of that. He's not delivering on the other part. And I think if they are to sustain what they're doing throughout the tournament,
but I think that's fine if you've got other people who are taking wickets, and they do. They've got Rashid Khan and Mohammed Shami who provide firepower, whereas with CSK, for example,
they have the penetration. That's fair.
They've got, I struggle to see a single weakness with this team, apart from maybe they're a little bit slow with the bat in the power play.
Yeah, fair. They've done some pretty good performances. They defended 135 against Lucknow, which was hilarious.
That's just a disgrace of cricket, isn't it?
It was so funny. And I also think they could be using David Miller a little bit better. Some of their decisions this season have been interesting, but again, it's worked out. Abhinav Manohar the other day smashing loads of sixes in that game. They are just an exciting team to watch, and they know how to win.
Playing Delhi next, so they should. They're currently 6-2. They should be 7-2.
Yeah.
Pretty soon.
So. I think
basically there.
Yeah, they are. I reckon they are 9 out of 10 for once.
I would have them. Well, you can't give people a 10 unless they're ridiculous. But I'd also have a 9.
Yeah,
Max?
9s all round.
9s all round it is. Right, we've got time for one more team before the next break. And that, Max, is Lucknow Super Giants.
It is Lucknow Super Giants. So we had them just sneaking into the playoffs in 4th place. And currently they are 2nd, 5-3. But that is just on net run rate ahead of Rajasthan Royals and CSK, who both on 10 points. And Punjab, who are on 10 points. So it's, like you said, a bit of a buttercream blob there, but they are currently looking fairly sweet. They've also got an extra game in hand, so it's 5-3 for Lucknow with a very good net run rate. So looking good for them. The most interesting thing about their season, I think, from my point of view, has got to be that they've been playing Carl Mayers instead of Quinton de Kock to open the batting, and it's worked out. He's done pretty well indeed, and far better than I think we anticipated, because there wasn't really much evidence to suggest that this was a likely outcome, but so it's proven. So looking good. They're interesting at home. It's either a deck to smash the ball around or an absolute disgrace of a Sharjah pudding. And for that, we should be taking off several marks, especially, as you say, they failed to chase down, failed to chase down 135 against Gujarat Titans, which is something of a disgrace. But for me, what's been so interesting is it's been a real team effort. Like we've talked about standout performances from a lot of the other teams, but Lucknow haven't got a single player in the top 10 wicket takers and in the purple cap race, and only Carl Mayers is in the top 10 run scorers, and he's 8th. So no one stood out and really shone and, put in the big performances. It's been, well, regularly anyway. It's been sort of a bit here and there. I mean, Puran's had his moments of being absolutely on fire, but I think that's really interesting sort of display of how their season's gone. Where do you sit on LSG, Ross?
I really hate them as a team. To be honest. They are, and one because they've got KL Rahul, who literally stinks the place out all the time. But they're also annoyingly effective, which is Andy Flower is an elite T20 coach. I think some of their players have done really well this season. Puran, I think, has been exceptional kind of in that role that he's wanted. And you can see kind of where they gave him clear role definition. They've said, look, this is what we just want you to be. They've gone and done it. As you said, Carl Mayers has surprised everybody, right? And he's keeping Quinton de Kock out at the side. Stoinis has performed both with the ball and with the bat, I think it's probably fair to say. But I'm still not convinced they should be in the playoffs. And yeah, they're a bit bewildering to me.
I would have them. I haven't got too much to add. I would have them as a 6 out of 10. I thought they'd be around the playoffs, and they are around the playoffs. I think that they will make it. I think they're good enough. Like you say, Ross, they're not a great team to watch.
I don't want them to make it,
but they are. They don't really have a weakness.
Yeah,
and they have quite a lot of strengths.
Yeah,
which usually means you'll be good.
They're bowling, the way in which they cycle through their players, I think has been really the way in which they've demonstrated how to manage that squad and how to bring different people in for different games has been really impressive. People like Naveen Ul-Haq, he's been exceptional in this lineup. Mark Wood, when he's played, he's been exceptional in this lineup, and I think that's what they are good at. Andy Flower is very good at selecting that team and building a team to win games of cricket. Despite certain players in his team going,
they have players worth watching, but they're not a team worth watching.
Yeah, cool. Now we want your ratings out of 10, both of you, and then we're gonna have a break.
7.
Cool. Hit the break.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, a show sponsored by Manscaped. Who are Manscaped, Max?
Manscaped, they provide you with ball shavers and other equipment for below the waist grooming, and they're the best at it. And you can get 20% off if you go to manscaped.com and type in the code CricketPod. 20% off and free shipping, and you can get some lovely money off all their goodies. Good goodies.
Take care of your undergrowth. Get your pitch prepared for the season. We were talking about that earlier on the show, weren't we? It's May. That means it's cricket season.
Yeah, you don't want to get one of your pubic hair caught in your box, do you? With a little hole, just getting that ripped out. That's not what you want.
Bring on the heavy roller.
Exactly. Use the code CricketPod at manscaped.com to take care of your pubes.
Brilliant. Who's next?
Next on the list, I think this is one of mine. We've got 3 more teams to go. It is the Delhi Capitals. So our Patreons, they were very bullish on Delhi before the season. They had them in 3rd place. That was the prediction. They are currently in last place. I don't remember exactly when, but they have won 2 matches. 2 out of 6. Their net run rate is minus 0.2 out of 8, yeah. 2, yeah, I did that last time.
2 and 6.
2 and 6, yeah. Net run rate of minus 0.89, which tells you kind of all you need to know about this team. 4 points. heading for the exit. Someone in the chat earlier on said they should get relegated from the tournament. Look, I'd say historically Delhi have done enough to not get relegated from the IPL. Like, I don't think we need to kick them out completely. There's one more franchise that we're going to talk about who arguably should be shown the door. But it's not great for Delhi. Obviously, Rishabh Pant being out's hurt them, and David Warner, has he still not hit a six? Top run scorer.
He's hit once. He has hit a six.
He's hit a six. Yeah. Playing I think the mind might be willing, but the body probably showing its age there. And then unfortunately, they've not been great with the ball either. It's sort of been a disaster all round, hasn't it, Ross?
Oh, well, Phil Salt is their 5th leading run scorer, and he scored 64 runs. That is, it's been a disaster class from Delhi. And there is a bit where, yes, you can lose out on a player or two from an injury who are really critical. Other teams have had exactly that problem, right? And they've adapted and they've done very well. But yeah, Delhi have fundamentally defecated themselves on the biggest stage. It's been a complete letdown, and we know how passionate the Delhi fans are as well. And it's difficult for people at the moment, I reckon. From going to school and being a Delhi fan at the moment is really difficult. That's where I reckon there is a lot of abuse that those Delhi fans are taking, and we're here for you.
Yeah, I think it really. That tells you all you need to know. That Phil Salt stat. He played 4 matches.
3
matches, managed to get himself into 5th place. Hasn't even really scored any runs. Like it's not like he's come in and hit 3 back-to-back 50s or something like that. It's
I think he got a first ball duck in one of those games as well.
Yeah, he's just done like the bare minimum to stay in the side. Batting is awful. I don't think there's that much to say about them really. I'm going to give them.
Akshar Patel's been really good. I think he's been there. I think he's their standout player. But again, he can't do it all himself. Kuldeep Yadav's been decent as well.
I'm going to give them a rare 1 out of 10.
I was going to give them 1 out of 10, but it's Akshar Patel's 1.
So the biggest thing for me, and I was hoping one of you would bring it up, is that Manish Pandey is their 3rd best batsman. Manish Pandey.
Yeah, well, he can score runs. He just doesn't do it quickly. He's the 3rd best batsman, but he is scoring at 120. So
that's better than David Warner
and KL Rahul.
It's a disaster class.
And Sarfaraz Khan, he's scoring at 85. What a travesty!
Brings us to the top 2 teams, as predicted by our Patreons. In 2nd place were the Rajasthan Royals, Ross.
They were indeed my pink 60 boys. Playoff contenders, I said at the start, is fair. Top 2 is what we went for. They've got big game players. Can we expect them to have another sensational season, though, from Butler and Hetmeyer? We don't know, but the bowling unit is strong enough. Record so far, 5 games won, 4 games lost from their 9 games. They've been solid, but disappointing in patches. They've lost games they probably should have won, but they're sitting in 2nd with a very healthy run rate. Gents, how impressed have you been by Jaiswal and Jurel, who I've got as their big performers who are the bat?
Well, obviously, Jaiswal's moved into the orange cap position, isn't he, with his 124, was it, off 60-odd yesterday? It's not good enough, sadly, but it was, really, really impressive. He's come back, roaring back into form, and that's basically covered the fact that Josh Butler hasn't been as insane as he was last year. He's been okay, but he has had a couple of games where he's been really bad.
He's not been okay, is he?
He's had a couple of good performances, but rather than like having a couple of good performances and some where it's like a serviceable like 30 off 23, it's been good or absolutely heinously bad.
What's his overall line?
138, I think he's striking at.
That's fine.
Yeah, but for Josh Butler is the best T20 batsman in the world, right? And for this team, it is disappointing. And we have an English bias sometimes on this podcast, Jack.
Don't listen to that.
We have to remember that KL Rahul is the best thing since sliced bread, and when we insult him, we must do the same to Josh Butler. Josh Butler is striking at 25 better points than KL Rahul is, but never mind. There has been
but
some
he has had some individually terrible performances.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely, and this team is sitting in second place. Like, let's be fair.
Third, aren't they?
Well, they were. I thought they were second. They're probably third now.
There's a net run rate thing going on.
Yeah.
So
And I think they've been pretty good overall. They've shown good flexibility throughout this tournament. I think Ashwin and Chahar have been causing some trouble. They've got good role definition. I'm glad they've got rid of Rian Parag from the side. I think that's been good. But the biggest letdown for me has been Jason Holder. So far, and it might be a little bit of recency bias from yesterday of losing us the game in that position. But ultimately, he's not offered anything with the bat and with the ball. Is he going at 10 and over, Max? It's not been pretty.
Well, we said death bowling might be an issue, didn't we? And Jason Holder sort of tried to do that role in recent years, but it's not gone well. And I think that's sort of the big glaring hole in their side, isn't it? But for me, I wouldn't be too worried, because I mean some of the games they've lost, yesterday being one example. I think the Punjab Kings game in Guwahati, another one. Probably games that they should have won and were in a good position to win, and then just for some reason it all went wrong, And I think it's just there's a couple of things that are doing a bit weird though. I mean, some of the use of Hetmeyer sort of holding him back when sometimes you just send in the better player. But a lot of that might have been like an overthinking of the right hand, left hand combination stuff. But sometimes you just need to go, look, send in your best player and give them a chance to score you some runs. So maybe a bit of mixed thinking there, but I'm not that worried about some of the defeats. So I think they're looking pretty good. What do you reckon, Jack?
I would have them. So I think Gujarat are clearly the best team, by miles. I would have them neck and neck with Lucknow as the second best team. However, I think that they're less likely to make the playoffs than Chennai Super Kings, because their schedule is pretty tough. It's not, they've got Gujarat on Friday, then they've got Sunrisers. They'll probably win that. Then they got KKR, and they'll probably win that. Finish with RCB and Punjab. So two of those games are against fellow playoff chasers. One of them is against the best team in the tournament. And then you've got the wild cards of Sunrisers and KKR, where if you get unlucky and someone turns up, you're in a bit of trouble. So yeah, I don't know. I was earlier in the tournament, I thought they were very, very good. Now I would say just good. 6 out of 10 is what I'd give them so far. It's by no means a disaster this season, but I'm not wowed by them anymore.
Yeah. I think I'll give them a 7. I've been I didn't answer the second part of your question, Ross, about Dhruv Jurel. He's been brilliant. And the other thing we said about them is that I think they've used the impact sub to cover some of their issues quite well. But their death bowling is a problem.
Yeah, Trent Bolt's also performed quite nicely, ripped out some, like Virat Kohli, for example. There is a question in the chat around comparing Jurel to Kohli in terms of his style. So I'm not sure just yet on that front, but yeah, I don't think it's all.
Jurel's a finisher, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think it's all bad for the 60 Pink boys, and obviously I'm wearing 2 of their items of clothing at the moment. So a little bit of rose tinted glasses. So yeah, 7 out of 10. They are well in the hunt. Right, last team then, Max, that we haven't talked about is the pre-season darlings.
Dear, oh dear.
Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Yeah, so they were predicted to be top or to win. However, the Patrons cut it. Although interesting, no one thought they would actually win.
No.
It was just the average being around second or third. And well, how wrong they were. And, because we voted as well, but also a lot of other people voted, so we're going to blame them. Predicted coming top, they are currently 9th with a 3-5 record, and they just haven't fired. And it's caused a lot of problems. What I had down in the notes for the pre-season preview, that they've mixed up the squad. They look good. They've got balance. They've got bases covered, and they've got options to mix the lineup for matchups. So what that needs is a good coach, good strong leadership to take them to the next level. Unfortunately, what's happened is Harry Brook hasn't really turned up apart from one game where he scored 100. And that's meant that they have mixed things up, but not in the right way. They basically just now don't know what to do with their batting lineup. Does he open? Does he bat a 5? Does he bat a 3? It's messed him up. It's messed everything else up. Abhishek Sharma, who was their shining light last year, opening the batting, has been moved around. That's probably not really helped him, although he's had a few moments. Agarwal's not. He's been moved around as well because he's not done what they'd hoped. He's been the Punjab of last year. Agarwal again. And then the sort of trump card that we also thought they had with their bowling's not gone well either. Natarajan sprayed it all over the place. And they can't use Umran Malik right. So basically they're a mess. They've got a decent side they should be able to put together, and they're an absolute mess. They've lost a couple of games that they really, really shouldn't have. They've played games where they just randomly haven't played Heinrich Klaassen, despite the fact that he's been their best batter. And I don't know. Are we blaming... Are we going to have to throw some blame here at Brian Lara, do you think?
I think
is that where this is going on?
It's just the culture of Sunrisers Hyderabad, Max, in general. It's very difficult to change a culture of an organisation in a season. And unfortunately for Sunrisers, they have got a lot of emotional baggage with them over the last couple of years.
I mean,
even though it's a kind of different set of players, it's like Trigger's broom.
Yeah, but there are issues, aren't there? Like, it's the same thinking that gets you Kane Williamson as captain on 13 crore is the thinking that gets you Brian Lara as a coach who has never coached a team in his entire life and was notorious for being quite a terrible captain and leader. Like, effectively what Ross is saying about culture is right. Like they're kind of
it comes from higher up.
They're a bit broken, aren't they? And they have tried to fix things. They've got a person who doesn't really know how to fix a cricket team in charge because of that culture.
They're not even giving it a chance, right? We know they've got a good 11 in there. Yeah. Definitely have got. When we said in our prediction that there's a good 11, probably a good 12 or 13 players in that side that they can rotate, etc. But as you said, Max, they're just pressing the detonator button every time something doesn't go well, right? Yeah. And so there's no consistency. How many different?
That didn't work. That one attempt didn't work. Let's try again.
Hey, how many different opening pairs have they tried?
I think they've changed it 6 times over their 8 games.
It's insane behaviour. Absolutely insane behaviour. And out of their lineup, how many people are actually striking at more than 140 in this lineup? 2 of their batsmen, maybe.
You've got Klaassen and Abhishek Sharma.
Yeah,
and then Umran Malik had one.
Oh yeah, he had that one game, didn't he?
Nobody scored any runs either. I mean, Harry Brook, I think we'd all say, is having a pretty poor season. You get 100, and that in terms of win percentage added, he's probably doing okay, but it's all in one game. He's their third top run scorer, and if he does slightly better than Tripathi, he's 7 runs behind their top run scorer, 163 to 170. It's a collective. It's a bit of a collective disaster. Probably Klaassen aside.
Yeah,
and also their captain. I mean, that doesn't help as well. That their captain is an overseas player who doesn't really do anything.
I think Markram's a decent player.
He's a fine player. He's a fine fourth choice overseas player that sometimes you're not going to play because he isn't quite good enough. Like, nobody in the world is putting what? So they're what's 4 times? What's 3 times 10? Max 30.
30.
I think if you're going to pick an overseas player, they have to be comfortably in the best 30. You don't want your 4th best overseas player with the captaincy. I don't think Markram is in the top 30 players league-wide from an overseas point of view. I think he's probably somewhere in the mid-30s. So it's a weird choice. Like, why didn't they just give it to Bhuvi Kumar? Wouldn't that have made more sense? Even Washington Sundar, he's definitely going to be in the team.
Maybe they didn't want
Tripathi. Why didn't Tripathi have it? These are all really obvious selections over...
And we know captaincy doesn't make that much of an impact anyway.
Yeah, I mean they have had one bright spark, I think, in the bowling front, which is Mayank Markande. They've got Adil Rashid, they've got Akil Hussain. Akil Hussain finally got a game, But yeah, Mayank Markanda, he's done pretty well. He's their top wicket taker. He's going at 6.4 economy rate. So that's been good to allow them a bit more flexibility with who they pick as an overseas player. But it's
Cool.
aside from that, it's not really gone wrong. So yeah, I mean they've got an extra game in hand. So playoffs wise, they could do it if they won 5 out of their remaining 6.
They're not going to do
Probably
it.
more
They're
likely
not-
than
they're
have to
not
win
very
every
good.
game.
They're not.
It's not
very
going to
good.
happen. It's not going to happen, but it's not mathematically impossible. You never know.
I'll be safe from wearing
Stranger
a Sunrisers hat for the rest of this year again.
Right. We're up to an
realistically.
hour, so you've got one last comment to make out of 10 for Sunrisers this season.
Yeah. What I'm between 1 and 2, but
They've hit no runs. They're not very good from a bowling perspective, and they're
Yeah.
a fucking joke.
Right,
1 out
one.
of 10.
I'll be
half
generous.
a point for
2.
Brooks 100
2.
and half a point for Makande. 2
Right.
from Jack.
We're done. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Do hit like, do hit subscribe if you're over on YouTube. Also subscribe for anywhere else as well. And we are at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Bye bye.